What's up out there, all you beautiful souls? This is Anthony Ripatella with another episode of Be Real. I'm out here on a trail, so there's a storm coming in over the mountains, and if it's hard to hear me, I apologize. But I definitely wanted to showcase kind of what I'm going through, what I'm overcoming, and how I'm doing so. It's kind of the point of this series of Be Real is to be able to get vulnerable with you guys and show you guys that you're not alone on your healing journeys, and that it truly gets hard for everybody. I've come a long way from addiction and depression and street life, fighting every day and selling drugs and being on drugs every day. And so I've definitely overcome quite a bit in my lifetime and reprogrammed a significant amount of things. But that being said, there's always room for growth. We're never going to be perfect, and there's always room to be a better version of yourself the next day than you were the day previously. So that being said, some of the things I've been challenged with this year, I guess in a nutshell, is healthy boundaries. Because if I had healthy boundaries with myself, that would have prevented a lot of things from happening that happened. And so going into kind of my trials and tribulations this year, I was in a very conscious relationship in the beginning of the year. We were both very spiritually developed people, and ceremony and prayer were a really big part of our lives. And we at the same time, we had a lot of complex trauma still to work through. So even though I don't do drugs anymore and I don't fight every day anymore, and I'm a completely different person in regards to that, I still have a lot of things that hold me back from loving all the way and letting love in, and being able to experience a really harmonious relationship sometimes, just because I'm not used to it, because it's new to me. It's things I'm still navigating through and learning to strive in. So that being said, me and her both were kind of there for one another through our traumas in the beginning. We were very compassionate, and we wanted to help support one another, and be able to really work on these things together as a partnership. And it started off that way. It was really beautiful, but then shortly after, about 3 months in, it turned into we both had open wounds. We both were getting defensive because we were both kind of articulating our lives in order to make the other one happy. I was moving in with her. I was moving out of the city into another city, so it was kind of a big shift for me. She was moving a lot of stuff around, and being able to make space for me and stuff. And she's very sensitive to like light and smells and stuff, so we were navigating that when we first moved into with one another. And so there were all these open wounds as well that we were pointing out with one another. She was actually the one who first said, like, you got to let love in a little bit more, like you don't have to be all hard all the time. And so, and that's some, I've slowly been softening myself over the years, but like layers of an onion, there's always more layers out there. So we were going through that, and then us breaking free from our norm and our own routines and the things that we did for our own personal development in order to make the other one happy. Like when I moved in with her, I stopped meditating every day like I used to, and stopped doing things that were very fundamental to my well-being and being grounded, and being harmonious with my mind, body, and soul. And she was doing the same thing, subconsciously. Even though we were in ceremony like 4 or 5 times out of the week, it still wasn't the same. We were still being pulled away from ourselves a little bit, and that's because we didn't have boundaries with ourselves. So yes, there's a video, and I'm doing a warriors meeting pretty soon on healthy boundaries, and there's a couple different ideologies and things that I learned researching the topic, and it's pretty cool. And since we broke up, so things got kind of nasty. We were defensive. We weren't compassionate anymore. We were we were starting to hurt one another, and then that caused us to be more defensive and close off our hearts and the communication, and it just grew into a really nasty, toxic environment when neither of us had that intention from the get-go. And that being said, things were said that hurt one another, voices were raised. um, my role as being a protector and a provider, that she didn't feel that way anymore, and her role as being a nurturer and a creator, and being there to comfort, wasn't there anymore. And so that our roles in gender were, we essentially like betrayed ourselves. We were mad. We grew resentment towards one another because we opened these wounds up, thinking we were going to heal one another and help one another walk through them, and then we didn't really come up with the foundation or the framework in order to really communicate properly and pull that off, because we did so early in our relationship. We didn't really learn our love languages or the way that we perceived the world first or anything like that. We were just basing it off of our own perceptions and our own reality, and that was vastly different from one another. Even though there's many similarities between us, there's still foundational differences that we were like brought up on. So that being said, things got nasty. We ended up breaking up. I moved out pretty quickly. I didn't have necessarily a place to go because I wanted to move out like that day. And so I ended up moving on into another relationship pretty fast. I went on like one date and ended up moving in with the girl the second date. And we were together for like 4 or 5 months. And that was just, that was really detrimental to me, because one, I didn't really align with that person. We had a lot of fun together, yes, but my soul wasn't getting the things that it needed to be fulfilled and happy and well nourished. And it just, I got used. I got very used in the end of it. I ended up, taking care of her, saying she didn't have to go back to work, and all these things, And honestly, no judgment towards her. She's still finding herself, and she doesn't really know what she wants. But I very much knew what I wanted, and I thought she knew too. And that wasn't the case. So at the end of it, I found out she was cheating on me and all this stuff. So I went from a really conscious relationship to, feeling really loved and supported, to that being like completely, it changing into something completely different than what I wanted it to be. And then I went to someone who truly didn't even really care about me. In the end, she cared about herself more, and that's okay, but not in a toxic way, and that was in a toxic way. So I was very hurt. I was very alone. I felt just unworthiness. I felt like, what's going on? I'm trying all these things and doing all these things, and I'm a good man. I know it, and why is this happening? And so finally, sitting alone with it and seeing these patterns repeating themselves over the years, I made the commitment to myself to be single for a year. And that's a really big step for me because, my whole life I've been almost codependent on relationships in order to, create a happy home place and a nurturing environment, stable, supportive, loving, full of good memories and whatnot. And the truth is, you have to create that within yourself in order to create it within the world around you, and that's the same. It's like fundamental with all of the spiritual things. You have to be what you want in order to receive it, but it doesn't dawn on you like that with relationships and love and happiness, because a lot of people think you're just meant to, find this person that makes everything manageable and perfect and joyous, and that can be true for a time being, but unless you develop that love and support within yourself and that stability within yourself, and you're finding that comfort and love and the morals and ethics and things that you stand by from within, that foundation with that other person is bound to crumble over time. it's just the way it goes, you know, even if you guys are really aligned. And so, that being said, I've made the commitment to be single for a year, and until next November. And since then, I've really noticed its benefits. You know, like it's not always easy. I had to get used to sleeping alone. I fell asleep on the couch for like the first like 3 weeks. I wouldn't like go into my bed, just because it hurts to lay down in my bed alone. And then, you know, I started reaching out to old friends, started rekindling old relationships, and um, being able to be myself in the community again, and be who I wanted to be, and you know, really just put all my soul energy, all my soul force into what I wanted, and instead of making somebody else happy, you know. And then things started really shifting for me. Old relationships, like I said, came back. Old things that I used to love and desire within myself started to sprout again, like my music, and you know, just being more funny and lighthearted. It really started to come back, you know. Another thing that was hard though was finding the motivation at first. Finding the motivation within myself to really be able to get up every day and do it for me, not anybody else, you know, because I was always living my life for somebody else, trying to build an empire for us, you know, for our family, and for, you know. But then it was like, why do I want this empire? I don't. I just want to serve and be remembered as a good man. So then it became a little bit easier to go and do that every day, you know. And then my ex-partner, the conscious relationship at the beginning of the year that I was talking about, the beginning of last year, I should say, she actually came back into my life then. We started talking again. We were able to kind of navigate through where it went bad, where things started to get nasty between us, and we're able to tell each other that we're sorry, that we forgive one another, to take the lessons of our relationship and really grow them to fruition together, be able to reflect the things that we saw in one another as well as the things that we saw in ourselves after we were separated, you know. There were some really cool affirmations in there, because I was, you know, like me and her, we went from like loving, like being in love with one another and liking one another, and really admiring who we were, to then being really disgusted with the person that we were turning out to be, you know. So that being said, we were able to then identify, you know, like those things that we went through together and that person that we were in those dark times, they don't necessarily define us, because we were doing and saying those things off of like a closed heart, a broken heart out of hurt, you know. And so we're able to really forgive one another and to navigate on where things went wrong, where we dropped our communication, and it's been a beautiful journey ever since. So a year of commitment to being single, to being committed to myself. That's the biggest lesson lately, and that's what I'm gonna be kind of journeying through this next year. So I just wanted to make another video for you guys. Much love, highest blessings. It's great to be a part of all your guys' journey, and make sure you make this life what you want it.